What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Political Spectrum podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about the Trump transition and the people that we believe he's going to pick for his cabinet, the people he has picked for his cabinet, and some of the speculation to go on with that. Maybe some ideas about what maybe some of it's unexpected, some of it is expected. So we'll talk a little bit about that. First, this podcast collects people with different political beliefs on the political spectrum, gathers them together to discuss mostly politics. It's only been politics so far, so mostly politics. I am Paul, your staple libertarian.
I am Frank, your establishment Republican.
I'm Danny. I'm the liberal, and I, for one, look forward to Secretary General Omarosa.
I'm Charlie the Vanguard, and I'm coming to you from underneath a delicious warm kotatsu.
Okay, so we're going to jump right into it. So I think we should start off with what we already know. And the people that had... Frank is drunk, by the way, so, I think a staple for this show, a precedent...
That explains politics.
A precedent for the show has always been someone either has to be drunk or hungover on this show for every episode. Otherwise, it's just no
Actually,
point.
Paul, I still have the beer you brought to my house. I'm going to open it up right now, so keep talking.
We'll come over to my house and bring some over.
No, you left it at my house. I'm just going to open it up right now, but keep talking.
That's from the summer. I mean, it is a winter beer, technically. So
that's all right.
It's, for those of you that don't know, it's a Vorsteiner, a German beer. It's a darker version of it though, so it's really, really good. All right, so
Steiner Dunkel.
All right, so let's jump into what we know about these positions so far. So obviously, the first people that he picked was Reince Priebus, along with Bannon and Jeff Sessions. So what are you guys' opinion on those three in particular? Because to me, those are three completely different picks. They're all on the right, mind you, but they're all completely different stances on government on the right. So the right's always broken up into different groups, and I believe they're in their own groups. You know what I mean? So what do you guys think about these positions? Surprised?
Surprised? No. I mean, these are all Trump loyalists.
I'm a little... I'm not surprised with the people he's picked so far, but the people he's reaching out to, such as Mitt Romney, the congresswoman in Hawaii, but I'm not surprised with Bannon. Yeah, I'm not surprised by Bannon. I'm more surprised by Reince Priebus. I'm surprised he placed an established Republican within his group.
Priebus,
it makes sense.
He proved too useful to Trump. I mean, of all the big name establishment figures, he was the one who was playing go-between.
Yeah, but the reason why I'm surprised
in the ground.
But the reason why
the
reason why I'm surprised is Reince has actually lectured Trump on his behavior in the past, and I would think if Trump wanted total freedom, he wouldn't have Reince there. So that shows he's trying to unite the GOP in a way.
And that's what I find. That's what I find so surprising. I didn't expect Trump to, pick establishment conservative.
Neither did I.
Republicans, rather. For that reason, I thought that he would want the freedom. He would pick people, not just loyalists. I guess he's a loyalist. I don't know. I'm going to disagree with you there, Danny. He's not a loyalist. He's said things to Trump before, you guys just said.
Yeah, but
I disagree there. I mean, I'm with Dan on this one actually. He has criticized Trump in the past, sure, but from the moment Trump got the nomination, or actually from the moment really that Cruz dropped out, he's pretty consistently stood by him as the candidate. It's not like Paul Ryan where he turns code every month or so.
It's almost his job to do so, though, right?
Yeah, it is his job to do so.
It's the job of a lot of people to do that, and they didn't do it. And Priebus did his job, and that is praiseworthy.
But in the end, that shows Priebus is loyal to the party.
That's fine.
Looking out, yeah. But Which is I'm surprised by because Trump isn't in a way. Trump is loyal to himself. Reince is loyal to the party.
Well, it is a coalition government basically. I mean, we have the Trump movement, like kind of the national populist core, but we do need the party. We do need its infrastructure, and there are lots of people who vote with the party. So I have no problem making a deal with them.
Okay. Well,
yeah,
I mean,
and I wouldn't necessarily call Reince a Trump loyalist in that he saw Trump one day, fell in love, and put his heart and soul behind him so much as
Like
he,
Charlie did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He,
well,
or
it took
like Charlie did
a
when
while
Cruz dropped
too.
out.
It took.
My transition was pretty gradual, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
but
2 years ago, you didn't like Trump 2 years ago, or
No, I didn't.
a year and a half ago, rather, when I knew you.
Oh,
600 days. 600 days. Eh.
beautiful, isn't it?
But yeah, sure. But no, I trust me. Like it may look. Yeah, I mean, you have to consider it. The way the right fights with each other probably looks a little different from your guys' perspective. But Priebus does not fit the bill as someone who's fought Trump. He's chastised him, but in the same way Kellyanne Conway does. He goes on TV, wags his finger, and then hugs it out behind the scenes. Like, he's never really gone against Trump.
I mean,
he saved face for the party. There's a difference.
No, I disagree. He has attacked Trump for his snub of McCain and Paul Ryan. He has attacked him for
no.
Hold on, I'm not done yet.
Oh,
No,
sorry,
you have to take into account his role as chairman of the party. When their party, when the voters voted him in, he's very different from Kelly Conway, who is running his campaign. He has to take a different route, and he has, I think, chastised him harder than she has. I don't even remember her chastising him, but go ahead.
And when Trump was doing,
I got lost in the pronouns there. Who are we talking about?
and when Trump was doing his victory speech, we had him grab him up and say, "Hey, say a few words, say a few words." So I guess after that little spectacle, I wasn't surprised after that. But if you were to tell me a month ago that he'd be picking establishment Republicans, I would just be a little surprised.
A lot of people would be surprised.
Actually there were sources in the transition team well before the election night saying Priebus was well in the running for that position that he got as chief of staff.
I never thought he'd get it.
But why, though?
Well,
that's the reason why.
Go ahead, Frank, sorry.
But I'm just curious why he's in the running. Why not make Bannon the chief of staff? Why not make somebody else? That's my question.
Because the chief of staff has to talk to Paul Ryan.
Yeah, exactly.
Dan's right, yes.
So that's why he did it, to unify the party. That's my belief, even though
that's the thing. Like, politics is a conflict, right? And it used to be, in older conflicts, when the war is over, you would typically make some kind of deal with the people you beat.
Yeah.
And then you would usually work together. So that's just what that is. It's just traditional conflict resolution.
I mean, there are definitely some Democrats that are going to be brought in, I believe, as well. So, and we'll get to that later. But let's stick with what we do know, and let's talk about Bannon.
Well, I will say though, even being someone who's not going to be happy with pretty much any appointment, but Priebus is probably the only appointment he's thus far made where I kind of shrug and go, okay, that one doesn't really bruise at all. Like, he's standard. He doesn't.
Well, I mean, he's only made 3, so I mean.
No, he's made 5.
Only 3 official. Who were the other 2?
The lieutenant, Flynn, as a national security advisor, and Palmero. What's his name?
Mike Palmero.
Yeah, whatever his
CIA.
Yeah, that's the position.
Okay, so he made 4.
He officiated. That was official.
He has announced.
And then Bannon doesn't count as a. Well, actually, Bannon and Priebus and Flynn aren't aren't positions that need confirmation, but technically he's made 5 appointments to appointments that he would have to make.
Right. So I want to talk about Bannon specifically because I believe that's Charlie's boy, right?
He is indeed my boy. Yes.
So I just want everyone's general opinion on Bannon. I specifically want to hear what Danny's thoughts about him is. because I've seen a lot of I've seen some good stuff about regarding Bannon. Also seen some establishment people on the right attack him, but I'm happy with him in some ways and unhappy in other ways. But I want to hear what you guys think.
I'll let you guys go first.
Oh, you sure? Okay.
Yeah. I want
don't.
to collect myself a little.
Oh, I
Oh dear.
I don't. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I don't know much about him. I just know he was a good banker. He got into Breitbart. I've been reading reports from Glenn Beck and is it Dana Loesch? She has a radio show.
You shouldn't read Glenn Beck. It's dangerous.
But Dana has her own radio show, and he just said he's a very vindictive person. He's very egotistical and controlling. That's the only negative I get out of him. Now, what the left is trying to paint him as a racist, I disagree. The whole Renegade Jew article, that was written by a Jewish guy.
David Horowitz, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't see him as a racist. I just see him as a alt-right kind of a guy. Actually more than that, like more nationalistic, which is why I suppose Trump chose him, which I'm fine with. But, so I don't see him as like a surprise candidate, so like an appointment.
Charlie?
But I don't know much about him.
Yeah, I'm thrilled. Breitbart was very helpful to the president-elect during this whole campaign cycle. Bannon was a very good manager. He's a very good CEO of the campaign, whatever that means. And he took us to victory. So
I just don't know what he did as campaign manager. Like a lot of people don't talk. Like they focus on Kelly Conway, but not him.
Well, he's a very kind of gray eminence, right? He's very kind of behind the scenes, getting things done that way. And the ideas that he represents, kind of the national populist wave, they have been very influential, and they will continue to be very influential. For example, he actually struck a deal with the Le Pens in France to work with them, which is amazing. And
I did hear about that.
Woo! I didn't hear about that.
Go Le Pen.
It's interesting. People are freaking out about Bannon. Like they're freaking out. And I saw an interview on CNN with Joel Pollack, who's the editor-at-large at Breitbart, who's an Orthodox Jew.
Yeah.
And he said, look, Bannon's not an anti-Semite. I've worked with the man for years. And CNN, they're freaking out, trying to paint this guy as an anti-Semite. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, of course, anti-Semites often hire and befriend Jews. That makes sense.
And Ben Shapiro, even though he has parted ways with Breitbart, says, listen, anyone that says that he's an anti-Semitic or a racist, I know the man personally. He's not any of those things. And believe me, I hate Bannon. That's basically what he said. And he's like, he's just very vindictive, like Frank said that he heard on the radio. So, Danny, what do you think of Bannon?
I think the testimony of the people you're referring to are not necessarily worth all that much. There were many friends of Bill Cosby who would swear he's a great person. He respects women. Like, I get it. Like it.
I mean, Ben Shapiro hates Bannon.
There was tangible evidence that Bill Cosby was a piece of shit. There's no tangible physical evidence or testimony that people are saying that he's a devout racist. Just that his article.
His ex-wife.
An ex-wife can be pretty biased.
His ex-wife.
About me, that aren't true.
She said that in divorce court, which is well known for its objectivity and calm emotions.
Exactly. Like there have been. I don't think there's anybody that said Bannon is a racist piece of shit because he said like this and that. It's just that he released articles that are questionable with the titles that are clickbait.
Sure. Listen, I'm not gonna get into.
No, you need to. This is a podcast.
What?
This is the podcast where we need to.
No, I mean I'm not gonna get too deep into the can we trust the ex-wife's testimony aspect of this, but I will point out that at a certain I will just say at a certain point it does get kind of tedious that none of the terrible things that have been said about Trump or the people around him are ever true.
Or Clinton.
None
or
of it
Bill.
could ever be true.
Well, that's all well and good, but that does not distract from the objective reality here. Like, what has Bannon said that makes him a racist? What has he done that makes him a racist?
And what is the evidence besides his ex-wife?
Listen, I'm not interested in Bannon as much as other people are. I really don't give a fuck. I don't believe he's as important. I don't genuinely believe he actually has accomplished that much. There's no evidence pointing to his decisions mattering.
Behind the scenes guy, though, so we don't know that. But it is possible.
Yeah, except given the way stuff leaks out of the Trump circle, that if Bannon was doing something of significance, it would have leaked by now. Every other single thing has leaked out of that campaign and transition team.
Bannon seems like the kind of guy that wouldn't have anything he's involved with leaked. That's just to me.
So we can agree then that besides the ex-wife's divorce court testimony, there's no evidence of racism?
Here's the thing. Racism's more complicated than...
But Vox told me otherwise, Charlie.
Oh, okay. Shit, shut it down. It's over.
Sorry, Danny, go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Do I get to get a word in edgewise?
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, I don't think racism is a yes or no thing. I don't think you flick a switch, racist, period. Everything you do is racist. Everything you say is racist. Racism, racism, racism. People are more complex than that. He can be a controversial figure with questionable beliefs without being the next coming of Hitler. And I find a lot of the stuff he's supported, a lot of the offhand statements that maybe are jokes, to be questionable. I don't know if I think he's evil, but I don't necessarily like the guy. Like, I don't know what you're looking for.
Well, I mean, I'm not coming after you here personally, Dan. It's just there's just been a whirlwind of people attacking him, usually from the left, and they keep saying he's racist, he's racist, he's racist, he's racist, and they don't provide any evidence. That's where I'm coming from.
Part of it is the swirling vortex of insanity that is the alt-right and Breitbart as its core.
Well,
there's a lot of...
Go ahead, Dan. Sorry. Go ahead.
There's a lot of questionable elements involved, and that breeds fear. That's
okay.
That's just a start.
Well, the thing about the alt-right is there's actually a lot of controversy of terms here, right? Because, like, for example, for a while there, people were trying to cast the Trumpian right, like, you know, the Bannon crowd, as alt-right, and some within the group are doing that. That's kind of faded now. Like, so, for example, Milo Yiannopoulos used to kind of say, "Yeah, we're alt-right," but now he's saying, "Well, no, we're not really alt-right." And then you have like these, you know, this little hive of this little group of white nationalists in Arlington, and they say, you know, "Oh, we are the alt-right," and, you know, the Breitbart are cucks. So
also, you don't have to call them white nationalists. You can call them Nazis.
Wait, you mean Richard Spencer?
Sorry, what was that?
Richard Spencer, you mean? Because he's not a Nazi.
We'll agree to disagree.
I like that. He's not a National Socialist. He's a racist. He's not a National Socialist.
I mean, for those who don't know Spencer, just explain who he is.
Yeah, he's the head of a think tank in Virginia called the National Policy Institute. He's a white nationalist, so basically his goal has been basically to create white ethno-states within the U.S.
Is that the guy who had the video released of recently?
Yes. There was a recent video. So they had a conference at their headquarters. Not at their headquarters. Sorry, a conference in D.C. called "Become Who We Are," I think it was, and it's just they have it every year. It's their conference they have. And he gave a speech. So throughout the day, the speeches have been fairly, like, I didn't watch them, I just read about them. but like they've been pretty blasé, pretty tame. And then he goes up there and he says, "Hail Trump! Hail our people! Hail victory!" And they all rise to their feet, start applauding, and 3 people decide to flash the fascist salute. But honestly, I'll give you my honest opinion on that, because I find the alt-right very interesting, so I read some of their stuff. I don't really agree with it, but it is interesting reading, even if a bit disturbing at times. And a lot of them, like Richard Spencer, for example, he's not a National Socialist. My personal opinion is that he was trolling, because when he did that, do you know how many times MSNBC played that clip? Like, they played it over and over and over and over again. The man guaranteed himself publicity for a very small and pretty obscure think tank and movement. I disagree with him. I think he's wrong. I think he's mistaken. But the man's not a Nazi. He's just a pretty good troll.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to quickly look up a quote. So Paul, you chime in.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to, I don't know much about the guy or the think tank. But regarding the alt-right, I'm with Charlie. There are things there that I certainly am in support of. Some of those things that they do with immigration, for instance. And obviously, the alt-right was in favor of the UK leaving the EU, so obviously I was for that. But I don't know much about Spencer specifically, but there are things in the alt-right that I'm obviously not in support of, and because some of them are actually neo-Nazis. But,
yes, they are. They're called the 1488ers.
Yes, and oh boy, how lovely.
Actually, they're actually called within the alt-right. If you'll pardon the term, they're called storm fags, because they congregate on Stormfront. And
the term is pardoned. Frank, what do you think as Danny looks up his quote?
Think about the alt-right as a whole, or
yeah, I mean the alt-right as a whole. And if you want to, I don't know if you saw the video that is.
I saw the video, and the reason why I saw it is there was a lot of people to the left saying that, this is proof everybody as the Trump supporter is racist, and I was like, here we go again. But what I got from it is that there are racists in the alt-right, like there are racists in the left and anywhere, but I just see the alt-right as a problem for conservatism in the long haul, because they're not small government, fiscally conservative guys. They desire populism and authoritative control, or what the hell, or what. It's just the opposite of the antithesis to what conservatism is. That's how I view them, but I don't view them as a majority of racists and etc.
I'll say this: if Spencer was trolling, as Charlie speculated,
that's what I see it as.
Then it's hilarious, because they covered him for like days, and we're talking about it.
Yeah, it
worked. Everyone else is talking about it. So it's like, yeah, it worked.
I feel like, here's my problem: the alt-right has been pretty big in this campaign for I don't know how long, but just now the left is focusing on them because Trump won. They're trying to
they talked about it. They talked about it a little bit. Hillary Clinton talked about it,
but not as much as now. Now they're the whole media.
Right.
They didn't want to popularize it,
but now they are. But they're popularizing it with a different.
I think Dan wants to talk. I think Dan wants to talk.
I will say right now, I think it's because of the nature of where we are in the context of what there is to punch at. Mm-hmm. Sessions, you can put up a tussle over, and you can make his confirmation hearing fierce, but he's going to get appointed. No one doubts that.
I agree with that.
There's too many Democrats in seats where their Sessions is not the battle they're going to die on. Sessions has been a senator for too long. Like, even if some of the more shadier parts of his past get brought back up, it makes his confirmation rough, which it should be a rough confirmation. Jeff Sessions has a questionable past. I'm not saying he shouldn't be appointed. I'm saying that's where the Democrats will fight on Sessions. Priebus, not worth the fight. Not even worth talking about. He's there, whatever. Fuck off. We'll move on. And Flynn is another thing, but he's again not someone who's confirmable. And Palmero is probably not even going to get mentioned. Everyone's going to shrug him off. Bannon right now is the best target for attacking the Trump transition until something comes along to take its place. That's, I think, why this is what it is.
That's a fair assessment, and that's why we heard more about Bannon, and that makes sense. Although I do want to talk about Sessions a little bit.
I actually, can I chime in? It's not what I'm going to butcher the quote because it's more of a conversation, but it's one of the reasons. Like, even if the dude's trolling, it's one of the reasons I have a problem with whatever you want to call them, the alt-right, white nationalists, Nazis. It's the people in whatever aspects of those groups who dwell in Nazi symbolism, who use the terms of Nazi propaganda, who use the swastika and use the salute. I'm going to paraphrase a conversation from the third Indiana Jones movie, where he's talking to this girl who was going undercover in the Nazi regime, and she's trying to convince him that she's not actually a Nazi, that she doesn't believe in what they believe in. She was using them to a means of her own. And
I believe in the Grail, not the swastika.
Yes, yeah, I'm sure you've seen the clip going around. It's and then
I've seen the movie.
Indy responds, "Oh, even better. That I'm surprised you know it that well." And then Indy responds with, "You stood up to be counted with the enemy of everything the girl stands for. Who gives a damn what you think?" And I think that kind of sums it up. It's if you're reveling in these things that are most deeply tied to the Third Reich, even if you have noble reasoning and more nuanced opinions, you are marginalizing yourself because you don't deserve a certain level of dignity, and you don't demand any real respect when you use those things. Even just for trolling.
Anyone have any thoughts on that comment?
Well, I mean, Richard Spencer did not use the fascist salute. He did not use the swastika. He did play it up, Dan. You're right. He did kind of play up the whole fasci aspect of it. I mean, look, whether or not you want to give him respect, I don't really care about him personally. He's the leader of a very small.
I'm more talking in the broad scope of like all of this stuff, not specifically any one individual, but all of these.
I think you and I think we agree that neo-Nazis are bad and should be shunned. I'm not a white nationalist. I don't really sympathize with them, but I do think it is important to understand your opponent's opinions.
And Trump disavowed those.
He did disavow, yes.
All right, yes, he did.
He's finally starting to actually push a little. If he starts coming out a little more hard about it, say equal to the way he does when he doesn't get press coverage he likes, then I think I'd be a little more
push
content.
On what? A few action of a minority? Like, are you kidding me?
We have to ask ourselves.
All right, go ahead.
We have to ask ourselves here, because, like, if we pretend that the alt-right, the white nationalists, if we pretend that they are just completely, morally reprehensible, completely irredeemable, they're just bad people with no reasonable points to make whatsoever, I get the appeal there. You're ostracizing them, you're excluding them, but that's only going to feed them. It's going to give them an air of mystique and mystery about them that they can use. They become the forbidden fruit. They become the bad boys. They become punk rock. And that gives them strength. If you shine a light on these ideas and on these people, they will wither. I mean, Richard Spencer, he's a fairly intelligent person, but he is not an articulate person. If you go there and you debate Richard Spencer, odds are you will win. Like,
Okay.
this happened with the BNP in Britain, the British National Party.
Oh
They-
my
they
god.
put- Yeah, they put him on the BBC, the leader of that party. What was his name again, Paul? Do you remember? Nick Griffin. That was it.
Yeah,
Nick Griffin. They put Nick Griffin on the BBC, and they had a big debate with him. And he was terrible. He flailed and he lost, and his party crashed. So the best thing to do.
Didn't he
Go
leave
ahead,
the
Paul.
party? And didn't he leave the party because he realized one day, this party's filled with racists.
Nick Griffin? I don't know if he did that or not. I could think of another person who did that, but yeah.
If that wasn't Nick Griffin, it might have been someone else. But God, it's just really it was just really funny the way the BNP just fell off. And now we have UKIP, a legitimate party,
Non-fascist party.
Yeah, in my eyes. So I'm sorry, Charlie. Did you want to say more?
No, honestly, I pretty much wrapped up there. It's just like, yeah, like, confront the ideas, right? Debate them on their merits, and they will probably collapse under the weight of truth.
Frank, you were saying something before. Go ahead.
I don't get the left for tying this to Donald Trump. This is not a part of Donald Trump's, ideology. He's not a white nationalist, so I'm just confused why the left is trying.
Don't necessarily say the left. Say the media, because it's mostly
left.
the
Well,
media.
the media is also leans to the left. Let's not try to lie to ourselves here, but just it's just insane.
Here's part of why. It's such low-hanging fruit for him to chastise people using Nazi salutes and saying "Hail Trump." He doesn't have to go He doesn't even have to go any more complicated than that. Just specifically call that action out.
But where was Obama when there were people chanting New York City, death to cops? He didn't call that out. Where was all the rhetoric from Black Lives Matter and other groups towards death towards cops and everything else? Why should he
Black supremacy.
Yeah, why should Trump do what Obama didn't? He's trying to transition to the presidency. It's obviously a minority, like very few occurrences that are happening. Why should he go down?
Tiny minority.
Yeah, he's already said he disavowed the alt-right, and he told his supporters stop doing hate. Why should he go keep on just attacking them and stopping? It's just obviously it's not going to stop them. He already did what he had to do. Why should he do a formal speech, as I read that many people want him to do, which is ridiculous?
I don't need a formal speech because, first of all, Obama has chastised people who use language like that. Even if
Really?
Just read. Yeah, here, I'll read you one right fucking now. Here you go. Let's see. Where's the part of it? Shit.
I'll take your word for it. I'll take your word for it. But Trump has already done that.
And Trump has already disavowed as well.
Yeah.
We as a nation have to be loud and clear that nothing justifies violence against law enforcement. Attacks on police are attacks on all of us and the rule of law that makes society possible. We don't need inflammatory rhetoric. We don't need careless accusations thrown around to score political points or to advance an agenda.
Wish the media covered that a little more closely.
Yeah, the media has it, but Trump already has disavowed it. What do you want him to do? Keep on disavowing it? Going to a campaign of disavowalment? He already has done that. That's the problem I don't get with people in the media and the left. They just keep on tying Richard Spencer, who I'd never heard of till now. I'm actually reading him. He's actually kind of interesting. And other people to Trump, and it just doesn't – I just don't understand why.
It's a pretty simple thing, really. This weekend, Trump sent 2 tweets criticizing the Saturday Night Live. He sent 4 tweets criticizing Hamilton.
Which I hear is overrated, Danny.
Yeah.
That's a joke, by the way. I love Hamilton.
Those things aren't the point, but he's sent none about this. I'm not asking for a speech. I'm not asking for his version
so you
of
want it on
Obama's.
Twitter instead of his ABC interview where he disavowed them. That's what you want.
That finally came. I'm not again. He's so good at getting attention for stupid fights with people. All I really want as a starting gesture is a more serious attempt to chastise
Unify the nation.
these actions. And
No,
people-
listen, I agree with you, but this is who he is. But he's not a racist, or his movement wasn't racist. It's all about Trump and maybe whatever he think he can capture the American people's emotions with. That's all he is. He's not a racist. That's what I disagree the most with the left. Nor is his movement racist. That's my major bone to pick with people.
I don't think Trump necessarily is, but I think he hasn't done his due diligence in weeding out the elements of it that exist within his movement. Because
Wait, you can't weed out people.
I'm not sure he could.
I'm not saying he has to personally go around criticizing every action of every supporter, but he has sent very few signals that these things aren't acceptable, that the SWAT stickers are unacceptable, etc., etc.
Well, he's disavowed them now, and we'll see if he does anything more.
And listen, today it started to move in that direction. I'm inching closer to being satisfied with his response to it. Again, one of the things I think it might have been Van Jones on CNN who said, "You don't make 15." Listen, Van Jones is actually a pretty temperamental guy, and he said, "Listen, going forward, even if Trump wants to heal, he has every desire to see him do it. But you don't make 15 months of divisiveness go away in a week. It's gonna take time, and this is a nice first step. I'm not saying Trump is encouraging it actively right now. I'm just saying, going forward, with the office of the presidency behind him, there needs to be a more serious putting his foot down about these kind of things, especially if he wants to calm the concerns of so many anxious minority groups."
But those anxious minority groups, Trump has not said anything that should concern them.
Okay.
Basically, about their safety. It's been the media from the start, from the moment he launched his campaign, just calling him racist without evidence. Sorry, Paul, go ahead.
I'm going to change the title of this to Trump Transition and the Alt-Right, because I think we spent about 20 minutes talking about in some form Spencer, in some form Bannon, in some form all this, which is fine. So that's what I'm going to do.
To be fair, this is kind of one of the main conversation pieces in the transition right now.
Well, it as it should.
Yeah, no, I agree with Dan. It is
as it should be, and that's why I'm going to change the name of the video so it responds to that a little bit more. So,
right.
I just have one question to Dan. Do you think Bannon's a racist? Like, do you see him? I just want to I just want your valid opinion on it.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't, because here's the thing. The word itself, I think, gets thrown around
way too often.
Well, yes and no. I think the context has been lost on people. I think people need to do a better job of understanding things and actions can be racist, and a person can have racial bias and can do racist things without being a totally awful human being. I think people need to learn to accept criticism of action that many will take as racist and listen and understand why people feel that way without feeling like the being called out on something you say or do means they are shunning you as an existence.
Wouldn't a simpler solution be to stop viewing everything through the lens of race and like class oppression and group oppression? If you take away the Frankfurt School critical theory deconstructionist lens, then a lot of this constant, calling out goes away, and people deal with people as people.
I agree with that. As individuals, is what people want to be viewed as, and that's why white nationalists, and we have some people in the Black Lives Matter movement, and a lot of people on the left, and a lot of people on the right too. They classify these people in like groups. So we have white privilege, and how all blacks do this, and Latinos, get them all out of the country. I mean, it's people on both sides that are kind of fixing this narrative, like, these people are a group, let's label them as a group, and they all think one way, and that's the issue here. And but by the way, as we were doing the podcast, we just had Stop Homophobia unfollow us from Twitter. So hey, I guess they
No.
they probably got mad that we didn't follow them back because, well, why? I mean, listen, I would love to stop homophobia, but I'm not going to follow you on Twitter.
Also, news update. I think Trump did a reversal on torture. He's not going to go on waterboarding, apparently. Just reading.
Oh, yeah.
That's disappointing.
He had a conversation with General Mad Dog. Apparently the conversation basically went like this. Mad Dog looked him in the eyes and said, "I've never found it useful. You give me a cigar and a couple beers and I'll make peace a hell of a lot faster than with torture." I'm butchering the quote, but that's basically what he said.
And
that's why that man should be Secretary of Defense. Just throwing it out there. I support that.
He's definitely one of the... I'm actually with you. He's another one of the choices that is currently in consideration where it's like, if Trump picks them, then we're playing serious.
Yeah,
we're not
that's
playing, we're not playing with Trump
glad
loyalists and con men. We're playing with real statesmen. If people,
I don't know if we're going to go into. I don't know if we're staying on the same topic, but I'd like to go into Trump's foreign policy if we're allowed to.
Yes, I would love to go into Trump's foreign policy, which I'll start a little bit with, and then Frank, you can jump in after. It has been a little wishy-washy lately because during his campaign, he has kind of had a more, anti-American policeman of the world mentality, but now it seems like he's cuddling up to these people like what was his name? Who's one of the people for Secretary of State? Not Romney.
Bolton.
And yes, Bolton. Oh my God, Bolton. And
Hey.
who's as Rand Paul put it, unapologetic about the Iraq War, which
Oh yeah, Bolton is about as big a cheerleader for the Iraq War as you'll find.
What's interesting, though, is Bolton is against working with Russia, while, was it Flynn that he appointed to security, is for working for Russia. So it's very...
Quite literally.
yeah.
See, the thing with Trump is he's appointing people that are in different schools of foreign policy, which is either brilliance or it can backfire.
Oh, I think it's going to backfire personally.
Yeah.
But go
I mean,
Absolutely
if he's...
backfire.
It's going to require Trump to be very pragmatic and able to make the final decision without second-guessing himself. If he's able to listen to these people and make a decision that's very pragmatic, it would work for him. But however, what's going to happen is if you can't control these different sects of foreign policy, there's going to be a lot of backfighting, fighting amongst yourself in the administration.
And
this has happened to Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan, but nothing like at this level.
It happened to a lesser degree with Obama. Like Obama's rivals caused all kinds of issues. He never listened to Hillary and her foreign policy team on issues where they were absolutely right, and it blew up in his fucking face.
And I do want to make...
He listened to the politicians about foreign policy instead of the actual people he should have been on certain issues.
And I do want to make the point that there is a possibility that he is going to pick people with these different schools of thought. In fact, it's looking like he almost definitely is. But he could change these people at some point as well. So that is a possibility. But I think it is going to blow up, and he's going to have to change some people around. He's going to pick a side at some point, maybe, 2 years from now. He's going to say, listen, I want you to step down, and if they step down, he'll pick someone else. That's what I think would happen.
Oh, absolutely, because the thing you have to consider for Trump is popularity means everything to him, and when it comes time for the midterms, if Trump's popularity remains where it is, which is not good, the Republicans will be faced with a dilemma. Do they distance themselves with Trump for the midterms, or do they align themselves with Trump? And if they don't align themselves with Trump, Trump will throw a temper tantrum. And
How dare he demand loyalty?
yeah,
I
what is this? Some kind of democracy?
But
Some kind of party structure.
the midterms are structured actually harder for the Democrats coming up. In the
No,
coming elections.
It definitely
Depends
is.
on how Trump does in the next 2 years, is my
Yeah,
point.
but I don't.
But
But
only
like-
for the Senate seats. For the House, everything's up for grabs.
Yeah, but I think the House he's going to be fine with. It's just that with foreign policy, I don't think he's an ideologue. He's not a neoconservative. He's not an isolationist. I don't know what. Most people
non-interventionist.
Yeah,
He's a pragmatist.
Yeah, he's a pragmatist. I would even say he is not even a non-interventionalist. I have some belief that he can manage his foreign policy team okay. If my only problem is though how bad will the infighting get? That's what I'm curious about. If he appoints Rudy Giuliani as Secretary of State, it's all going to shit, or Newt Gingrich, or whatever the fuck.
Oh yeah,
it's all going to hell.
Giuliani has, if he's the guy who has to go in for Senate confirmation, he has the power to accidentally sink the entire Trump administration before it begins.
Yeah, if it's Mitt Romney, I see a more stability amongst his foreign policy. That's how.
Yeah, honestly, if it's Mitt Romney, the Democrats may vote for him just to get him in the room quicker.
But I.
Go ahead.
I don't want Mitt Romney. I don't want Bolton.
I mean,
Who do you want? I'm just curious. What do you think about the foreign policy that Trump is creating right now? His team.
Honestly, I would be perfectly fine with sort of a relative unknown.
Same here.
What I'm looking for is someone who will recommend intervention when it is in our national interests, our direct material interests, right? Not this vague ideology of globalizing and democratizing the world. But honestly, and who will say, if there's a conflict that we should not be involved in, which I don't think Obama or Bush believe that exists, then they'll say, let's hold off. Let's let them fight their own war. So that's what I'm looking for, a common sense foreign policy that saves lives and advances our interests.
And for that, you want Bolton.
No, I don't want Bolton.
Oh, okay.
And I agree with that sentiment. I don't like any of these three potential picks, or four, I guess, if you count Gingrich.
I love Romney.
Can I actually say one reason? Can I just actually point out one reason I like Romney, especially for Trump's Secretary of State?
Sure.
Trump, at least in this version of Trump that Charlie sees, is interested in a very legitimate warming up to Russia. Most of the rest of the country, I believe, is skeptical. Romney, I believe, would be a voice of skepticism in the room. He wouldn't be the guy who gets to make the call, but if there's at least that skeptic in the room, I think there's a chance that balances out to a reasonable place.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's no problem with the conservatives coming on and in an advisory capacity to have their voice heard, but to turn over the State Department to them strikes me as very dangerous.
Charlie, I hate to inform you, but conservatives are a major part of the Republican Party.
I said neoconservatives. I said neoconservatives.
But he's a major, but still, that's a faction of that's a part of the men.
The neoconservatives are like a small intellectual
other areas.
Just a faction. I mean, we also have these non-interventionists like Rand Paul, who I tweeted that she should make him Secretary of State. That's just my perspective.
But I do agree with Dan. But that he is a voice of skepticism when the Democrats back in 2012 laughed at him when they saw Russia as not a threat, and now I hope they've realized how fucking wrong they were. But
they do.
Oh yeah. Oh God.
Oh yes, Russia's going to be marching down Pennsylvania Avenue tomorrow.
Well, in other areas, that Russia is a
Russia is the new VP.
But I do see
Putin's
Mitt Romney,
literally Hitler.
But beside Mitt Romney being a voice of skepticism, he helps unite the GOP under Trump. If he would want a unified party in 2020 or the midterms, it would help him out.
I mean, it would have helped him out to have that conversation with him before the elections, but I don't know.
But now that he won, he has the mandate to lead. He can now prepare himself for the future. And if he has Mitt Romney, who is considered an elder statesman from the GOP, it would help him out a lot.
Romney did give a rather bland speech condemning Trump. But
that's
Romney
okay.
Romney has been an obstacle this entire time.
Well,
He certainly
yeah, but so many people have, but Trump's not being vindictive, as he just said. He's not going to press charges against Hillary. Thank God. He's trying.
He doesn't have the power to do that anyway. So
yeah,
I don't know
thank you.
But
do you know how many headlines I've read of praising him? Like, hey, what? Why is that a good? Why?
Yeah, no, he doesn't have the power, but he's not vindictive. He's not carrying on with his bullshit. He's trying to unify the
He wants to go golfing with Bill.
He wants to go golfing with Bill.
He wants the good old days back in the 90s.
But if he goes after the GOP, a lot of people on the state level and federal level have disowned him. He's not gonna have a united front in the midterms or 2020. So he's being very wise by building up his foundation for future elections. That's how I see it.
And actually, in that vein, you mentioned Trump's mandate to lead. Trump's mandate is weak as shit.
Well, it's still a mandate. It's better than the Democrats.
It's a mandate. I get that the North
mandate in that he
California
has the position.
didn't like him, but that's about it. I mean,
it's a mandate in that he has the position.
He won that. We elected him. He has the mandate to win. Then
the states chose him. The union.
That's how the system works.
I'm just saying. He has the mandate of he got the job, but don't mistake having the job with the support of the country is what I'm saying.
Oh, so he doesn't have support in Wisconsin, North Carolina, Florida, Ohio, Texas. Am I missing any other states?
He has enough.
He has the majority to lead.
Missing about 20 states.
And, now, is it a weak coalition?
I'll agree with you. This is important. The states are not just subdivisions of the federal government. We are a union of states.
Yes.
So the states chose him. And just because the leftists have managed to pack enough people into their coastal citadels, that does not entitle them to run the country. They don't get to ignore everybody else.
Yes, we should do the reverse. Got it. Okay. Moving on.
Well, yes, actually. I mean, when the entire country, when the entire country, except for Chicago, and then 2 little tiny strips on the coast, say yes, we want this guy. That guy should be in charge.
I mean, our legitimate system is a compromise of both of those things. It's not one way or the other. Dan, it's not like 26 states say Trump's president and Trump's president. It's the population, it's the House with the population, and then it's the 2 senators from every state. That's how they do it. It's not one way or the other.
Yes. I am familiar with how the system works. I'm familiar with how it devalues votes in certain states. My point,
rightfully so.
I need a bottle cap opener.
My point that I'm trying to get at is that there is still the vast majority of citizens in this country who voted against him.
Yes, the vast majority of citizens in New England and California and Chicago who voted against him.
Actually, the vast majority of citizens did not vote.
Which is also true.
Actually, no, it's 58% did vote.
Who, for some reason, they think, we live in
people
Chicago.
who did not vote won the election.
We live in these cities, therefore our will matters more than everybody else's.
But he does have a mandate to lead. Is it a weak coalition of people? Yeah, it is. Because I'd be surprised if he's able to carry Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania in the next election. But he does have a mandate.
Considering Michigan, as the votes continue to come in, he's down to a 0.2 win.
The first Republican since Reagan?
I'll take it. He almost won Minnesota, but still, he has a mandate to win, even though it's not as the leftist.
If McClellan wasn't on the ballot in Minnesota, he probably would have won that.
Yeah.
Listen, we're arguing over 2 different forms of mandate. I am not denying he is the president. He will be the president. He won in the system fair and square. He will be the president. I will keep saying that because it is fact. I do not deny that. I do not deny him his office. I do not
Sense
deny
anger.
him the position. But what I am
But
saying,
go on.
he comes into office with the weakest win in terms of votes.
But he has the
Of any
Senate and the
president.
House.
Yes.
The Senate
he
has
has-
a mandate. The people voted for the Senate to stay in the GOP. Dan, he has the mandate to do whatever he wants in the House. If the people
Yes.
disagreed, the Senate would be Democratic, and so would the House. Even if he had the weakest win.
Yeah. Trust me, I've been on the other side of that. We'll see how long it lasts. It tends to be cyclical. But the point that I'm just trying to finish here is he has that going against him. He has the lowest approval rating of any president entering office that we have on record. He has to pull off very successful moves to make this work. And having Mitt Romney there to shore that up helps. It is a great thing for him to have Mitt Romney, is what I'm saying. It unites the factions of the Republican Party. It shows statesman-like behavior on Trump's part. It shows that he's temperamentally controlling himself in a way he had been unable to show prior. Those are all things that go to helping him heal the country, heal the divide between even the disparaging parties in terms of calming down to a certain degree and coming to not love President Trump, but at least tolerate President Trump. I am just getting to the point that Trump really needs to bring things together, and he's the one who has to do it.
Okay, so Danny likes Mitt Romney for the sake of unifying the party. Okay, so let's just
Yes.
right. Okay, good.
So what we got is Trump has a mandate to lead. That's what we got out of this, and Mitt Romney's a good choice.
All right. I don't like Mitt Romney. He's establishment, but
No, he is. But
it makes sense. But I hate him.
But I
It
think
doesn't matter what I feel. Doesn't
Me and
matter
Dan
what I
agree.
feel.
If Trump's smart, which if Trump is smart, he would pick Mitt Romney to unite the GOP. If he's vindictive and decides to isolate the establishment and go after him, he's just setting himself.
He can pick him for another one too. Secretary of State. I prefer a non-interventionist in there. That's just the way I see it. And
Trump's not an
Romney-
interventionist. Go ahead.
Romney in some kind of economic position would be a pretty good fit.
I agree.
Yeah, he's considering Jamie Dimon, but I don't know if Dan paid attention. But Jamie Dimon recently had violations issued to him, like a few $100 million there, or maybe more or less. So I don't know who his new pick for treasurer is going to be, but I can see Mitt Romney being a better choice right now for that.
Did anyone hear they might make Jim Webb? They might give Jim Webb a position, which I
heard
would
about that.
love. I love Webb so much. Danny, you could attest to that. Back
Yes.
during the Democratic,
You do enjoy Webb.
back during the Democratic debate, well over, was that a year ago? Or probably
It's
a
been well
long
over
time.
a year.
It's been well over a year. You're right. But I was talking to Danny, and I was like, "Webb won the debate," and Danny looked at me and rolled his eyes.
Yeah.
But
But I love Webb.
Webb for
Webb
something
is
like
being-
Pentagon would be okay.
yeah, but Webb is being considered for defense. So is Petraeus.
Oh, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, that's what I
Petraeus,
want him in.
Mattis, and
Because he's anti-war, Webb, mostly.
in a way, yeah.
Unless he gets to go personally.
Yeah, kill his enemy. What was that line he said that most of his enemies are dead?
No, it was who's the enemy you're most proud of? Well, I'd say the guy who shot me in Korea, but he's not around anymore. And then he gave that ridiculous smile.
I loved it, and if I was a Democrat, I would have voted for him in the primaries. I would have wrote him in. I don't care. I would have wrote him in. I don't care.
I'm just curious as why Trump
I
met with
know.
the person in Hawaii. I don't know much about her. I think Dan does.
She's economic populist,
Bernie supporter, right?
Bernie supporter. Yes, stepped down from the DNC. Used to be the number 2, I believe. Is a veteran and is actually a little more on the hawkish side in terms of ISIS, at least as far as I know. Evidently, I was reading Bannon is a fan.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah. There's a lot of crossover with people of my faction and the Bernie supporters.
Same with libertarians and
yeah,
both of
we
you guys, too.
identify a lot of the same problems. So if we can form an alliance of the national populist right and the populist left, that would be amazing.
Sounds like the worst possible world. No offense, Charlie.
It is.
Apologize, Paul. Disavow.
I'm learning how to apologize in Russian.
Facts don't care about your feelings.
Apologize.
I'm learning how to say I'm sorry in Russian. I did not vote for Hillary in Russian, so I'm trying to prepare myself.
Okay, so I want to edge towards some other interesting picks. Was I right in remembering that Secretary of Energy might be going to Perry, or is that something else?
I haven't heard anything about energy, in all honesty. There's
Neither
so many
have I.
positions that I...
What about?
Going to
What about? I don't mean to change the subject, but I don't know anything about his new EPA person.
The person leading the transition is a climate change denier. That's as far as I'm aware. And
That's what I
it
heard
doesn't
too,
bode
which
well.
is kind of scary. But
Yeah.
that's all. Charlie's laughing. I don't know much about any other appointments besides DPA. Like very little that he's a climate change denier. He's written some articles and books, but he's in that camp.
Chris Kobach from Kansas, I know, is meeting potentially for Homeland Security. He's the guy who managed to snap a photo for the press while holding a document for the meeting face out.
Oh yeah.
That was amazing, and it confirms the wall.
Yeah.
Whoa!
It confirms
It's
Kobach. It confirms Kobach supports the idea.
Pick Kobach. Pick Kobach. Pick him. Trump. Pick Kobach.
And then he's deciding on for I guess Secretary of the Interior Mary Fallon. So I heard about that. She's governor of Oklahoma. It's kind of a safe choice. There's nothing really crazy about her. It's definitely better than Sarah Palin. Just want to throw that out there.
Yeah.
Who has not spoken in the past few months.
I feel like after her endorsement speech, Trump cut her off because goddamn, that was awful. But
yeah, I mean, Trump knows. That's why. Actually, you guys want to talk about the? I'm going to talk about the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, which Trump wants to give to Ben Carson.
Oh Jesus!
Like Ben Carson literally said like a week or two ago. He's like, listen, I don't want a job in the Trump cabinet because I don't have the experience.
Why the fuck did you run for president?
Trump's like, nah. Trump's like,
That's
nah.
a fair
Here you go,
question.
Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. You know, it's really good for inner cities. And I'm like, dude, you're literally putting him there only because he's black.
Racist.
You mean the whole strategy of the Democratic Party? What?
I know a lot of ways he was a Democrat at some point. Danny, what do you think of this choice?
Ben Carson for HUD?
Housing and Urban Development.
He's a terrible choice. Like,
I know.
Make him what the inspector? Surgeon General. Thank you. God,
No, that's even worse.
I feel like
it's a pointless fucking position.
I feel like one out of the four of us would be better at doing housing than Ben Carson because Jesus Christ,
I'll do housing.
the guy has no experience, no research into it.
You should get to our friend Steven, Dan.
I at least know how to build the frame of a house. That's probably more than Ben Carson.
There you go. Dan O'Shea for Secretary of Housing. Let's do it. Let's start a petition.
You know what? I live in a city. There you go.
Oh my God.
Okay, so Ben Carson, awful choice. Trump, if you're watching this, which you're not, don't pick.
Imagine he's like tweeting about us.
It's like
That guy with
political,
the receding hairline, go suck a dick.
who, me or you, Frank? Political Spectrum.
Both of us.
Political Spectrum podcast says Ben Carson would be a terrible Secretary of Housing and Urban Development choice. Not nice.
Not nice.
No.
Very rude.
I wonder, did he announce who his press secretary is going to be, or that's?
We haven't heard anything.
I believe it's Milo Yiannopoulos.
Please pick Milo. Please, Lord Jesus Christ, pick Milo, please.
It's gotta be Conway, right?
It's got to be Conway
Gotta be
or
Milo, right? Oh my God, Milo, yeah.
Or
it's either
Milo
Conway
Yiannopoulos.
or the communications director of the RNC. I forgot his name. I forgot his name.
Spicer?
Yeah, Spicer.
Real? I think Conway's better at the job.
Those are the only two I see right now.
I mean, Conway
Or only
frustrates me.
options.
Conway frustrates me, but more in a like.
Ideological.
More in a. I know what you're doing. It's annoying. Stop it. Spicer's more of a. Why did you even think that was a smart thing to say?
I want Milo.
Like that.
Well, I don't think he's going to pick Milo because
The
the
New York Times will come in. The New York Times will come in, and they'll be like, "Why is Trump literally Hitler?" And Milo's like, "Shut up, darling, and sit down."
They're not going to be there. You heard what he said to the press. He invited them. He invited like everyone from like the major news into like this room. And he's basically just like, "You're all liars. I hate all of you." And
yes,
I thought it was the most amazing thing that I've read.
It was beautiful. It was glorious.
Donald Trump.
Yeah, he apparently had like the secret meeting with the press because they thought there was going to be talking about him granting them privileges, for like news stuff, and he basically just pulled them all into a room and said, "You're all liars and you're all
terrible
liars
coverage
and terrible coverage. You're all dishonest." He basically
I read
said,
a report.
"You should all be ashamed of yourselves." It's hilarious.
And they should.
I read a different report from the news media groups were giving him hell. So there's conflicting reports going on.
The New York Post said it was like a firing squad.
Go ahead, Dan.
The one report of it that I think I buy the most is that it was actually fairly not subdued, but there was animosity, but it wasn't like a screaming match like some people are portraying it as. It was a lot of
It's not good
animosity.
for the media. I mean, it was a closed meeting. It's not good for the media if it comes out that it was like a firing squad.
It depends on how they're trying to portray themselves. Some people think if they're seen as fighting against the system, they'll get more people
they are the
watching
system.
their.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, that depends on which specific person we're talking about. But again, that I'm just making a point.
That's fair.
Believe me, I have no general love for the major news networks.
That's why we do what we do, folks. Like, comment, and subscribe down below. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go
we're
ahead.
the
You're
exact
right,
opposite of a
right.
major news network.
Exactly.
Fuck the major news networks.
No one watches.
We're three white CIS guys. All right, trying to spread the word.
There's four of us.
Well, four of us. Sorry, my bad. Well, I'm still drunk.
How dare you forget about Paul like that?
How dare you forget about yourself like that?
You know what? I probably did because I'm looking at my screen right now and it says black and you, so I forgot there was four of us. All right, don't judge me.
You?
Well, no, it's like a black screen, and I think there's like three guys instead of four. All right, I'm pretty drunk. All right, I'm gonna stop.
How racist, Frank.
I'm gonna mute my mic.
Anyway,
That's probably wise. Yeah.
I was gonna backtrack. What were we saying before this?
I was shit talking Ben Carson because he's awful.
But we don't know who the other appointments are. Like he's moving at a slow pace.
Wait. Sorry. Before I forget, the New York Times meeting today. That's what I was going to bring up.
Yeah.
God.
No. The meeting itself isn't important. The meeting itself doesn't matter. I don't give a shit. Here's something that came out today that I think is super interesting because it's going to play a huge role in the transition team and the appointments. The report came out that that there was never this change of rules or whatever the fuck Trump called it, of conditions. It was always supposed to be an on-the-record meeting, but apparently, according to a report, Reince lied to him and said they changed it from off the record to on the record, knowing he would cancel it because he didn't want Trump to go do the report or to sit down with him on the record because he knew they'd ask questions he wasn't prepped to answer.
Okay, I mean, anything that hurts the New York Times is good in my book.
Well, they ended up having the thing, and it honestly it's not important. The New York Times isn't the important part of this. The part that I want to focus on is Reince pulling strings like that.
Oh, he's the chief of staff. That's what they do.
Yeah, but usually not pulling the wool over the eyes of the president.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
more common than you'd think.
I guess, but I don't know. It struck me as an interesting
Well, it's very
development going
different.
forward.
Like
Especially
Obama.
because we never actually talked about a report that came out that back when Manafort was the chief of staff, he pulled a trick on Trump to get him to choose Pence as the VP. Had you guys read that report?
That I remember, yeah. But explain it to those that don't know.
The report came out that back when Trump was very close to picking the VP, Manafort was insistent that he pick Pence, but Trump was very much leaning towards Christie because he'd been loyal since the beginning.
Who we purged. Woo, woo, woo. Go ahead.
And because apparently it's come out since that Trump, before he even got into the race, had an agreement with Christie that Trump didn't think he'd stay in the race that long, and that he had agreed that when he eventually dropped out, he would throw his support behind Christie.
I heard this.
And vice versa, they agreed.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, obviously that's how it played out, but I don't that part the stuff that did happen with Christie I don't think is as important as the fact that it shows Trump was already very in with Christie before any of this.
And then they purged him. Isn't it great?
Yeah. But anyway, Manafort evidently lied to Trump and told him that there was a plane malfunction and he had to spend an extra night in Indianapolis, during which he just so happened to end up at a dinner with Mike Pence.
Oh, okay. This is interesting.
And
Keep going.
the rest is now our future history.
Right, and it ended up that the plane was not malfunctioning at all. And
At
that
all.
was a lie.
It was a lie.
Really?
It was Manafort
Where does this
pulling
report come
strings.
from? This is actually interesting. Interesting story.
I forget. I heard it secondhand. An accounting of the initial report, but
Interesting.
it was from a fairly credible source.
I have to say, Manafort was very wise in choosing Pence over Christie. I'm just throwing it out right now.
I mean,
absolutely.
It
No doubt.
definitely helped him.
Because Christie's going to jail. But
oh boy.
But it's just interesting because this and now the Reince thing is starting to paint a picture that whoever is in the room with Trump, well, yeah, in chief of staff in Reince's case, it has me really fascinated as to what the dynamics are going to be with the White House staff.
yeah.
Like, what kind of games are going to be played now?
It's going to be a power struggle.
Especially
That's
because
how I
Reince
see it.
and Bannon are two totally separate bases of power.
Yeah. No, it's interesting to me because Obama never let his chief of staff control him. He's went through a lot of chief of staffs. So I'm So that's why it's interesting to see Trump being controlled by Reince or Manafort. So it's interesting. But Trump will, like, he did purge Manafort. Like, he's willing, like, he's not as oblivious as people make him out to be. So it's interesting.
Well, that's the interesting thing because most of the reports were that they had the falling out while he was dipping in the polls because Manafort was making him do things he didn't think was helpful, and then he started stepping on the landmines with Judge Curiel,
Yeah,
and he took it all out on Manafort. So it's going to be extra interesting to see if results don't go his way, who gets the axe, if anyone gets the axe. Like,
hopefully, Mitt Romney.
I'm just the more positions he appoints, the more curious I am about where the center of power is in the cabinet.
Let's talk a little bit about Secretary of Education.
Oh boy,
there was a few picks actually, but the one that I did know ended up
rejecting.
Rejecting.
So that's the only one I knew about.
What was her name? I think she was a Democrat. I think
she was in charge of charter schools in New York City. I forgot her name.
Michelle Rhee.
But there was somebody else being approached, but I don't know his name.
Yeah, does anyone know? Who?
I think we've gone through most of the ones I'm aware of.
Yeah, same here. I mean, we can all apply on Trump's website to apply to be a cabinet member. I'm just saying, much or I didn't.
Oh, can I? I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll go for Secretary of State because his current choices are shit.
Oh,
I'll take Homeland Security. Build the wall in like 2 weeks.
I feel like Dan's not going to join, but I'm going to go Secretary of Defense. Let's do it.
Hey.
Trying to think no, I'll go education.
Yeah, that's
Make sure
it.
they don't vote for 2020. I like that, Dan.
I was about to suggest you go education. All right, so, yeah, I think we'll do a little closing statements right now. You guys want to talk about anything else, or we're going for a little over an hour, maybe an hour 15?
Yeah, I'm trying to find my bottle cap opener, but I'm good right now.
Drinking my beer.
Buzz.
Paul, I swear to God, the beer you got me, I've been using my table. Like, when you guys were talking, I've been muting my mic trying to open this beer for the last hour. I just want
Frank, if you invite me over, give me a few of your beers. I will definitely open it for you.
I like that we've been listening to Frank's opinions about governance as he can't open a fucking bottle.
Hey, not all of us are perfect, all right?
I'm perfect for
It's not a
being
twist
beer
off. I want you
owner.
guys you guys know a twist off isn't easy to get off, all right?
If Frank were president, he would need a secretary of opening pickle jars.
Well, Dan, you got a job then, buddy, all right?
I'll take it. Does it pay better than my current job? Probably not.
Yeah, you get federal benefits. Come on, you can't beat that.
Actually, no, my job pays pretty well.
All right, rubbing it in.
All right, yeah, rubbing it in.
Yeah. Listen, I worked 60 hours this week. I'm rubbing it in everyone's face. What day is it?
It's Tuesday.
Yes.
Fuck, it's only Tuesday. It's been a long week.
I mean, we have Thursday, Friday off. I mean, Thursday off. Some have Friday off, too.
Yeah. What are days off?
I guess you're working then.
Yeah.
All right,
Anyway,
so we're going to close out here. So we'll do some closing statements. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. If you're listening on SoundCloud, we are also on YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube. If you are watching on YouTube, please follow us on SoundCloud because we also have SoundCloud. Links are all down below.
Our mixtape is fire, by the way.
Our mixtape is so fire. Like, listen, we have the best people working on our mixtape.
Words.
We have the best people with the best words. It's the best podcast out there because it's the four of us who are doing it. But yeah, closing statements regarding, the Trump cabinet. I mean, it's been a lot, very diverse. I'm actually content with the diversity. I just hope for Secretary of State he just goes with the non-interventionist choice. That's my one caveat. And maybe a little, like libertarian. Maybe a little less establishment picks in some regards. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with what he's choosing. For the love of God, if he picks Ben Carson, then I'm going to start protesting. And Milo for press secretary, whichever one of you guys want to go next.
I'll go. If Ben Carson is appointed in charge of HUD, I will also be protesting with my friends on the left, if I have any left.
You'll have me.
Yeah, me and Dan will be out there.
Maybe reluctantly, but I'll be there.
Yeah, but I am content with the diversity so far. I mean, it's a little too soon to see what's going to happen. But I'm just really worried if he can control his cabinet, which I doubt that he will. But I hope that he can. If not, there will be a lot of infighting and backstabbing, which will make this an interesting 4 years to see who wills the power.
I'll go so Charlie can get the last words in.
Thank you.
I don't know what to make. I mean, it's still so early, and a lot of this has just been a lot of hot air being blown over choices that haven't materialized, and people who were seriously in contention and now totally on the outs, and maybe back in. No one knows if Giuliani is seriously in contention or not anymore. It's become really chaotic in the sense of there doesn't seem to be much clarity going on right now, which I'm not gonna join in as a criticism of Trump, but this is a chaotic part of government, the transition is typically a very weird time. Some of the names that are being tossed out right now in consideration, I find encouraging. Most of the picks thus far range from irrelevant to a little bit concerning. If he starts picking people like Romney or Jim Webb, I might, at the very least on a national security level, I think I'm going to calm down with Trump to a certain degree. I think as long as smart people like that are in the room, I fear more domestic issues as a liberal in a Trump administration than necessarily foreign policy, if those kind of people are there to kind of sand the edges, so to speak. Yeah, I don't know. We're not at a point where I'm in panic mode yet, but I'm not totally calm yet. So I guess that's as good as you can hope for someone in my position in this situation. That's all. Charlie, you go.
Yeah, sure. Well, the cabinet, it is a diverse group, and after all, diversity is our strength. And it should be a diverse group. It should be composed of different factions united under the presidency, because we need these people, right? We need to build bridges, and we can do that, right? We can do that with the populist left, which I hope we do. We can do that with the establishment, which I hope we do. But there's a condition there, because there have been a lot of people in the establishment who actively oppose Trump. They worked against him deliberately. And now they're trying to tell him how to govern, which they have no right to do. If you look at National Review, the headlines go from attacking Trump to saying, okay, well, now here's how he should govern. Like, if you won't even demonstrate contrition, we have no use for you. You're just basically trying to turn code at the last minute, and we don't need you. We don't want you. So that's my hope. I hope he can assemble a broad coalition, but they need to be people who are loyal to the president. They need to be people who will allow us to pursue the populist agenda, the national agenda, and help us to finally make America great again. And I mean that sincerely. We need these policies, and we need people who will enact them. So that's what I hope for from the cabinet. It looks good so far. I hope it continues to look good in the future. And Milo for press secretary.
I think we could all agree on Milo for press secretary. So yeah, this has been the Political Spectrum podcast. If you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. I've said it 3 times already. I'll say it a 4th time. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I should probably say it in the beginning of the video, because how many people get to the end? If you made it to the end, good for you. All right.
We're also on Twitter, Paul.
Right. We're also on Twitter. It's at PolySpecPod. It's PolySpecPod. Because the whole name didn't fit. Why would it? And we're also on Facebook, so please like us on Facebook under Political Spectrum Podcast.
Paul will put links in the description.
Yes, I already have for Facebook for the last video, so I'll do Twitter for the next one. For this one, and maybe the other ones too, although I don't know how many of those people still watch. So this has been the Political Spectrum Podcast. I think we're on episode 9. Don't hold me to that. Might be 10, but I think it's 9. Covering the transition and partly the alt-right. So thank you guys, and until next week, where I kind of want to do immigration, but we'll talk.
I'd be down for that.
Until next
Hopefully
time,
nothing
guys.
happens to stop us, but I'm also down for that.
Something definitely will happen. But until next time, guys, peace.